Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Masha Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, Michelle and I are speaking with founder and product leader Mandar Karlekar about how he is using the tool FullStory for session replay. This is Mandar's second time on the show, so welcome back, Mandar. How are you?
Thank you, guys. Always appreciate being back. I was enjoyed our chat last time, thank you for another opportunity. I've been well. Hope you have been well too.
Awesome. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Mandar. Welcome back. It's always fun for us to bring back previous guests and see how they're doing and tell us about other products that they're using. So we really appreciate it. Last time, I believe we talked with us about different products that are used by an agency, because you have an agency that you're helping other companies. So you see different things going on. This is still going on, right?
Yeah, still, it's definitely going on and still right in the thick of it. Yeah, absolutely. Look, as an agency, or we typically call ourselves a consultancy. We're a service company. We integrate. We go to sort of various sizes of businesses within Australia, predominantly focusing on Australia, and we're agnostic to most things. So we partner with, you name it, in the sort of the product ecosystem, we partner with them. We really try to have these partnerships so we understand the tools better. We have a broad range of just knowledge and experience on what could work for the business at that stage, and we simply advise them about what we know. So it's really up to them. It's their choice. I do certainly have my favorites when it comes to tooling, and I might nudge certain businesses in a direction, but really it's up to them. I'm there just to sort of show my cards and let them know how tooling fits into process, how that fits into mindset, the organizational maturity of product.
Yeah, so you can always nudge them towards the podcast as well, to tell them, listen to what I think about this product when I talk with these guys about this.
Oh, for sure. I have on a number of times. Product for product speaks, for itself. So the volumes in the title itself. So if I'm recommending something and there's been an expert who's talked about it, for sure, check out the website, look at the competitive landscape. Here's a sort of a map of what the tool does. But you know what? 40 minutes of somebody who's used it, talking about it and showing some value. Great. Yeah. Go have it.
Amazing. Thank you for the shout out. So maybe at the end of the episode, if we have some time, we can also see if since the last time that we talked, you had some new go-to products that you really like or whatever, but we can leave it for later. Today, we wanted to talk about FullStory. And actually, I remember even before we had you on our first episode and I was talking with you to see which products you like. Even back then, you said, "Oh, I love FullStory. I can talk about it forever." So I noted your name down back then for whenever we will have this episode, because I knew we were going to have episode about FullStory one day, and here we are.
Perfect. I was waiting. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, you guys are doing awesome. Love the cadence of you guys recording these sessions and how you kept it going. Really valuable as well, and super interesting. So thank you for doing that as well. I know it's not easy. It's not easy.
Our pleasure. And the interesting thing is there are always new products to talk about. So
never ending.
Yeah. So this series is about session replay. And we already talked with one other product, which was interesting. It was Posthog, if you know that. Now, the interesting thing about these products is that none of them really is core just session replay. They do other things, but some of them started as a session replay. And I believe that's also where FullStory also started, but with much more than just what the traditional session replay we're doing. So tell us a bit about it, about your experience with FullStory and why you like it so much.
Yeah, right. And I did mention it in sort of episode, and I double down on my sentiment towards how good it is. I've had a chance not just to learn it a bit more, but I've had the opportunity to utilize, implement it, onboard it, work with the team and on with clients as well to sort of realize the value of what it can do. So, it's probably good that we waited. I can talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, it is still hands down, my sort of it's at in terms of all the tools in the consultancy toolbox, it's been one of my favorites because it makes me look good. It makes us as consultants look good, makes our jobs easier. You're always sort of appreciative of going into an organization that understands product, has the processes, has the tool to facilitate or accelerate towards value. If they do, great. If they don't, sometimes we can bring in, help. And the help comes in the means of FullStory more often than not. So in terms of what it does out of the box, look, session replays, absolutely. So it is one of those tools that I believe, and probably one of the rare ones that sits sort of square between multiple business units within an organization. So driving value not just for UX or product, or marketing or tech. It actually everybody's involved and in it, and everyone's gaining value out of it. Once it's set up properly, once there's been some training, once there's been some hands-on usage, obviously. So rather than the data itself, which is sort of applies to everything, it's the insights you can get out of that. Simplicity is critical. The ability for a product to be intuitive, and I talk about like intuitiveness as a measure. It's probably not an official, the goal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you would, but it's really yeah,
That's help.
simplicity, user experience, time to value, just the yeah, intuitiveness of a product. It's super easy to implement. 10 lines of JavaScript, into your header of your top level domain. And there's obviously you can use yeah, GTM, you can use Segment, you can use our third-party tools to also install the snippet and start session recording super easily. But once you do, that's that sort of aha moment. Every product has one, and once you start to see that data come through out of the box, it has this like it has essentially things you'd like to know set up already. So the data will come through. You can start to watch what users are doing on your platforms, and then all of a sudden you can start to do that at scale. Why I said it works between product, tech, and design is because it sort of it enables teams and organizations to do what everybody wants to do. It's intimately understand customers, their pain points, their needs, and it allows them to do that at scale. So there are things that you can utilize to understand customers, surveys, obviously, interviews. You can look at, speak to customer success teams. You can speak to customers directly. You can look at reviews. What this allows you to do is get those user insights, but in huge volumes. And so as users are discovering your product, exploring it, using it for the first time, engaging with certain parts of it, as they're getting frustrated, as they're navigating and finding value, and they're finding those moments of delight, those bundle up, get displayed as trends and give you this insight of what works and what doesn't across the entire user journey, in I would say minutes once the data starts to come through. It's pretty incredible. And what that allows teams to do is come together, have a session to understand what we've or started capturing, what that means to us or what we're learning from that, and really binds product engineering and design together to realize the impact of what we build. So it's like, hey, we shouldn't just build the right things, but we should build them right. Because look at the absolute, mess, the dog food that we've created. It's visual, it's transparent. You can see there's confusion. You can see there's issues in terms of dead clicks and error clicks and just paths of friction. So it changes the conversation, and you can clearly see it in a platform like this.
Yeah. So let's break it down a bit because there is a lot there to review. And I'm sure that you have seen also some other session replay systems. So you had probably have seen, what other products can do and
Yeah.
what FullStory was able to do that probably maybe they were the first one to do that. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, based on what I've seen, it's that aggregation of multiple session replays into a more cohesive story that can highlight those insights rather than just one session replay at a time, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Exactly right. They go beyond session replays. So you're absolutely right. It's that connected experience. A session for still full story is a 30-minute window of activity that has been captured. They do that in a really sort of light manner, essentially just capturing mouse movements, coordinates across your various platforms rather than capturing the entire or recording heavy videos that are then stored and having to be replayed as a result of that capture. Yeah, correct. And this is why it also is equally valuable for design and product because it isn't just a tool to observe users from a user research and insights perspective. Those insights, when stitched together across your platform and then that journey, what FullStory allows you to do with those sessions is create like conversion metrics, or at least observe them, create funnels. It allows you to set alerts and triggers and then perform actions on specific moments of your product journey, you're either paying attention today or that you need to.
Yeah.
So it's a product and a design tool.
Does it allow you to drill into, so if it identifies a problem and it says, hey, there's something going on here you need to look at, does it allow you to then drill into the aggregated journey and view of things to say, let me pinpoint and identify exactly what's happening here from a UI perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay.
does. So it tracks things obviously at scale and volumes. And if there's anomalies, if there's certain signals, there's trends that you observe to be problematic, you can drill down into that to the user level, to the session level. You can then watch to see what exactly has happened, and you've essentially got the logs, the sort of the extreme level of detail to understand, well, what errors did they experience? What were some of the triggers that caused the platform to mark this session as problematic? And then it has integrations as well. So you can send that error message off to Jira. You can add notes to it. You can send those off to various product platforms as well to then further analyze that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
when I first saw that, what wowed me really was that I've seen data analytics systems that were giving you path and were giving you funnels just based on clicks of the user, but not based on their analytics of a full recording, a full session recording. And I've seen session recording in other systems, but I didn't really see them together, that the session recordings are the one that are actually creating those analytics. And I think that when you go to a level like that, it's a
Yes.
much more nuanced and much more accurate than just what you could do before that with events or user clicks, because events and user clicks usually are based on what we define them
Yeah.
as the product manager. So we will say, raise these, or the engineers raise these events, and etc. And then we see how the funnels work. Here,
Yes.
there is no place for a mistake. We're not raising any events. It's just
No.
a session replay or a session recording.
Yes,
And
that's right.
and then based on that, they take all of this information and create that funnel for us. So
Yeah.
I felt the first time I've seen it, I was like, yeah, that's really the way it should be.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. Like, why have to do the work yourself to tell it what to measure and
Hmm.
track and tell us? It essentially captures absolutely everything, puts the smarts on top of that, and allows you to then manipulate that for your own, even better understanding or your just where your focus should be. So yeah, correct. It does capture the data, the thing that it's supposed to do in its core extremely well, but it also allows you to extend on that in terms of conversions and funnels and insights.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when you
And
mention insights, it looks like they've now, as a lot of companies have, introduced AI generated summaries. So is that something new, or have you used that at all? I
it is
always like to talk about AI here. So
It's super cool. I mean, I was probably, yeah, I was sort of wishing for that, as the AI trend was up, on the rise, that every company, every product platform is probably getting 1,000 requests to say, hey, could you add AI into this? But for a platform like FullStory, I'm glad they did. It couldn't have come sooner. It just seems that they started getting on that journey. It can be so much more. But they're doing this in the right way, obviously testing the market, looking what AI
mhm,
can do, really being sort of careful but also valuable with it at the same time. I haven't had too much of a chance to play with it, but what I have seen of it, it's incredibly complementary to
mhm,
how me or product design have been using it. So that's the key as well. It's not sort of replacing anything or getting in the way in the form of just AI in
right.
sort of the vanity of it or the surface level of it. It actually is helpful, and they're doing this perfectly.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's just added value. So
Yeah.
that's
It-
nice to hear.
But if I had
yeah,
to guess, their methods beforehand to create the insights from the session replays, probably they use some AI methodology there as well. Maybe not Gen AI, but more, well, you could maybe consider it Gen AI because there are insights coming out of those sessions, and those insights are new generative things that are created from all of this aggregated information.
correct.
So
Right. It's like traditional reporting. You have a ton of insights, so you have data, you aggregate that, you put some amount of like analysis, whether it's trends or otherwise, and you sort of reflect that, whether it's Excel spreadsheet, a Tableau report, or a dashboard in FullStory. But yeah, exactly. That's the process. It's just accelerated now with the benefits of AI. Yeah, for sure.
oh, I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's cool. Since you started using them to now, what other things that you have noticed that they added or changed or pivoted to make things easier or to create more value?
Yeah, look, the core product has always been strong in terms of like what it does out of the box. They've added features and functionality and across different segments of their customer base, whether it's like startups, scale-ups, or enterprises. They've obviously added features to complement who's using it. But what I've seen them do really well is actually focus on what they do today. So they've redesigned the platform, the word intuitive again, but yeah, they've made things easier to search, find, apply in terms of like a templatized approach to what FullStory does. And I think that there's value sometimes in doing better what you already do. So they have a loyal customer base. They've got a great product in market, and they understand that. So they focus a lot on the value that they provide today, and just getting it out there in a form that's easier to use and digest for their customers.
No, that's also great to hear because they always seems like a strong player. So it's good to hear that, it's not just the product itself, it's also the company around it. Some of the things we're also thinking about when we think about session replay is like security. How secure is the data, and is there control over what information can be captured or shouldn't be captured, and stuff like that?
Yeah, massive. I haven't had an onboarding or implementation conversation with a client without the first part of that conversation being about security. They are very stringent in their approach to security. They have a ton of controls, but that also provide flexibility on how the client wants to control the data. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty robust. There's things that, I mean, considering it's a platform with the intent of capturing everything, there's also the understanding of PII and information that shouldn't be available to all users, shouldn't be stored, etc. And so they have the means of redacting information. They understand that there's like personal information, credit cards. There's information that should by default be masked or redacted as
Yeah.
well, but
Yeah.
multiple layers of like providing users with the ability to mask information. You can set it up out of the box so that the events are not captured, the information isn't captured at all. You can have session replays, see some information, and in real time, essentially just mark something that should, from that point on, be masked. So it's really easy to set it up to capture and not capture what you want. But if you miss something, it's also easier to be like, oh, you know what? There's a little, sort of top right hand corner of someone's the first initial and the last name. Actually, we missed that. Let's mask
Right.
that for every session.
Right.
Nice.
Mhm.
Simple, super easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen also other departments using it, like customer support, or is that not the case for them?
Yeah, they do. And so the value of it is really when everyone uses it. So like case by case, really, ultimately you want to know what your users are doing. And so you can use it to learn, in an exploratory way, to understand where the problems might be, to then find the opportunities, to then do the solutionizing and then take, features and functions to market. The other way to do it is also to monitor something that you've shipped and to monitor in real time the impact, the engagement, the adoption, the errors, the friction that you may have caused. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That conversation between product and design happens, but often CS, a really good use case for CS is, say, for example, it integrates with Zendesk. What will happen is you see a customer success will get a call. They'll say, "Hey, you know what? My account's locked. I've had problems logging in. In this using this particular way." What they can actually do is identify that user. They can watch the last session that they've essentially just been through and walk them through and say, "Oh, I see what you've done. You've actually chosen an option." You've got last time you logged in, it was Google, for example. You've used a social login. This time you're trying with username and password. It's actually a different method. Could you please try with, the way could you use the login method that you signed up to us with, for example? It's really cool. They can actually real time, they can go back and see what the users have done and then
Great.
reflect that back
Yeah.
in.
So it's very easy for them probably to find that session. They don't need to think about it too much or do a complicated search to find a specific session.
Absolutely, especially when like this, the more you use it, the more you're like, oh wow, that would be a really good use case. So it's incredibly configurable. So sessions can have so many different things happen in that the time that the user's engaged on your platform. There can be pop-ups, there can be banners, there can be error messages that flash up, there can be sort of anomalies, and sometimes what what the platform allows you to do is actually watch certain elements, track certain things and actions, events, and then go back and watch when they happen, how often they happened as well. So if a user calls up and says, "Oh, I saw an error message, but I can't remember what it was," or it was only there momentarily and it sort of disappeared, it scrolled off the screen. Well, you can certainly watch that. I know traditionally we've gone to, we've sort of gone to, sorry about that. We've gone to logs, and we've had to rely on other teams and customer success as well. But this time anybody can actually see what happened.
Yeah.
Do
Oh
do
my
you
God.
in your experience, do you typically see product designers using this tool more, or like even user researchers, or because
It's
when Michelle and I were talking about it as product managers, are we the target persona, or is it a designer?
Yeah, this is the beauty of, like, this is why I like it so much, because I actually think it's smack bang in the middle.
Mhm.
Um, it's Yeah, it's hard to say. I've seen both teams get excited about it, and I've seen both teams get value out of it. Yes, absolutely, it's a tool for research to understand what your customers are doing at scale, and observe their behavioral patterns. But as a product manager, yeah, for sure, you're making changes, you're releasing products, you're enhancing features. You need to know the impact, whether it's positive or negative, of what you've shipped, and it allows you to track. every product metric as a funnel that you could think of. You can track conversions between a specific two different parts of the journey. You can reflect on how much time they've spent on it, how engaged they are, how what they started, what they finished. So from a product perspective and design, I think it's on par.
Yeah, amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One interesting thing also that we've seen is that a lot of data analytics or product analytics products out there are now supporting session replays, because where traditionally they did not. They started from product analytics and they ended up adding this because they already record sessions information. So now they just have to replay it, I guess. Have you seen FullStory going the other way? Meaning they started from session replays and analytics in scale and insights, but do they went and added other features that are beyond this, that is now part of the platform?
I'm not sure about specific features, but absolutely, absolutely. As others come down to cater for, services come down as they sort of cater for session replays. Full Story is catering for insights and analytics. We talk about sort of like amplitude, mix panel. You've got your core analytics platforms who might be now getting Pendo, who might be getting into session replays. They're
Right.
absolutely going as well. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's some
So the question
competition.
I remember that a few years ago, Pendo did not have session replay, and they partner with FullStory. So now, if someone have to choose, they will choose one or the other, or there is still a space for both of them?
I would still say there's enough of a competitive or like a differentiator and an advantage of utilizing both. They do Pendo is still very much an analytics platform, focusing on conversions and funnels and product metrics. And Full Story is incredibly well at session recording. So, probably in terms of who does all the things the best, it's probably Full Story, but there is certainly room to use both. And all of these tools, or at least the ones that I've mentioned, do integrate with each other very well.
Oh, so
Very well.
FullStory integrate with Pendo and Amplitude and the rest.
Absolutely.
We always ask our guests to tell us what are the 3 top features that they love in the product and the 3 things that they think that the company need to fix. So what would be your 3 and 3?
Ooh, yeah, I remember this question from last time. Yeah, I think I struggled to answer the fix as well. Yeah, look, session replay, it's gotta be, right? Top feature. What it always did, it does incredibly well. I mean, I would say almost an unfair competitive advantage. They have focused and perfected the art of just like seamlessly capturing what the users do and then replaying it in a way that's just easy to digest. And so that would be, look, session replay, absolutely. And that really sort of extends to the ability to look at heat maps. And so a lot of players who are looking to come into this sort of space who haven't previously, heat map is probably one of the first things that they do, looking at scroll depth and time spent on page. And just like everything else, it's always hot at the top in the sort of the hero space, and no one looks at the FAQs or the sort of the footers, and it's always cold. But these guys really take that to the next level. They look at click maps. So rather than just heat, there's a real further understanding of engagement at the points across your website or your product platform, and then you can sort of dive deeper into them as they're ranked by heat and by engagement to find out more about what your users are doing, where they're spending their time, what they're engaging most. And so, look, session replay, sort of heat map or click maps, absolutely. There's quite a lot really, to be honest. The ability to sort of really easily segment. So the search functionality, the sort of the product revolves around a single search bar. And with that search bar, as you interact with it, you can say, show me any users who've logged in and you can, whatever you can think of, you can search for. You can then, get the insights from that. Show me somebody who's logged in, within the last 30 days, who's flagged as a new user, who's engaged with these two things, and who had a session that extended more than 15 minutes. And as you do that, you create a list. Essentially, you get a list of sessions that map to those users who've performed those sessions. With that, you can very easily mark it as a segment. And so you can create these segments of like people, users that have logged in on a mobile or on a laptop, users that from different countries, users that have performed specific actions, and then within those segments, you can then further perform queries. So it's incredibly powerful. It just stacks in value. The more you use it, the more useful it gets.
And can you think about something they should improve?
Look, they can always
Get better.
they can always get better. Yeah. I think where they're focusing their most time on improvement is probably where they should be. It is still just like every product, it starts off hyper focused on customer pain and problems. As the product grows, or as its market grows, as its reach grows, it sort of caters to different needs of different customers and different segments, and so does the complexity of the product. It is simple enough, but there is a learning curve that requires a fair bit of deep diving into to really get the most out of it, I would say.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I would
So
continue to focus on.
even though you mentioned earlier that it's simple, it's very intuitive, there is still a learning curve for the users.
There really is, I mean, to master it, to use it, absolutely, but to master it, it requires an amount of like a deeper understanding that doesn't sort of come in the first 15 minutes. And look, I think it's fine. I think it's fine, but I think that could always be improved.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Awesome. I really feel your passion to full story, so I
Mm.
definitely see now why you wanted to talk about it. And
Ah,
so
all good.
that's great. Amazing.
And I was curious about the type of companies you've seen use it. Obviously, you used it, but have you seen it in other companies? Are there different kind of verticals that are using it? Like, does healthcare, with the privacy concerns of healthcare, do they maybe not use it versus some other company that is more open to it? B2C, B2B, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I look a bit of B2C, it's sort of the volume of insights that you get from the customers engaging at different parts of your product and like almost immediately is super useful. So you've got your e-commerce companies, your fashion companies, retail. You've got anywhere there's high traffic, high volume, and like loads of discrepancy of or like a broad range of your users. This is a valuable tool. Then you can segment and analyze what each sort of like cohort is doing, how they're engaging
Mhm.
with your platform. Because one size, doesn't really fit all. So it's nice to understand who you cater for and what the other experience is. But yeah, it's really industry agnostic. I mean, even for healthcare, like because it's got such strict privacy controls, even the implementation of it, like you can restrict where you can sort of stop session recording for anything that's a sort of logged in, a backend, a platform, anything that shows records, and you can simply apply it and still learn from your customer facing website, for example. So it's really, you don't have to measure everything across all parts of your platform. It's really easy to essentially set it up how you want. So it's application agnostic to, I would say, industry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, excellent. Another quick question was performance. So, when it comes to the performance of the site, when you implement something like this, have you seen, no performance lag? Is there any kind of impact? They make a note on the site about, how great their performance is, but are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, like normally I'd have if I'm talking to a new client about FullStory, I'll have somebody from the tech team in at FullStory to just really talk about some of the details on performance. But look, I don't know the numbers. Obviously, there is always some amount of impact on performance and page speed and load times and everything else. But the way that this platform is it's essentially architected, it actually focuses on minimizing that impact. The way it records sessions, in the way it essentially recalls that to replay them. Because I don't know the numbers or the exact specifics, but
Right.
what I do know is every time I've introduced the tool, one of the first things that gets done is security, compliance, and tech performance and
Mhm.
impact. So normally what I would do is essentially send the documentation, the SDK. Tech would do spikes to implement it in a test platform to measure the impact and come back to me and or the FullStory team to say, yeah, we're all good. So more often than not, they're all good, which sort of leads me to believe that the impact is there, but it reflects, it's X times when you realize the value.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Yeah, I don't know, Michelle, you had any other ones?
No, this is great. Really enjoyed this discussion. No other questions for me.
Well, sounds good. Well, Mandar, thank you so much for joining us again. Really appreciate it. Michelle,
No,
thank you as always. Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
thanks, guys. Always a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much, Mandar. That was great.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.